Hello and welcome. My name is Rupa Balraman. Thank you very much for taking the time to join me today on this executive briefing on cloud adoption and how this will be beneficial for our IT needs in the organization. Now, there are many reasons for organizations to move from traditional IT infrastructure to cloud computing. One of the most cited benefits is the economics of the cloud. Yet, while many people point out the cost savings that cloud computing brings to an organization, I believe attention should be drawn to these four distinct mechanisms through which these cost savings are generated. So, what is a cloud? Think of a cloud like a resource pool for computing, a little bit like a cash pool. You take what you need and you give it back when you don't need it anymore. You can use this pool to deploy and run your own compute and storage requirements. You can deploy and move resources to and from this pool very quickly, and that makes it super flexible. It's not one fixed product. You cannot just go buy the cloud operating system, install it, and be done. And most modern clouds, they can be accessed, managed, controlled through their own management web portals, tools like PowerShell and other APIs. Think back a few, well, decades at this point. You need a new database server. This meant procurement, installation, management, maintenance of a new bare metal machine, including all the required software components. Then CPUs, memory, disk, network, and all those core components of a computer. They become faster and faster and faster. So it just wasn't efficient anymore to waste one specific dedicated server for just one use case. That's how virtualization evolved. Multiple virtual servers running on one or multiple physical computers, so-called hypervisors. In a cloud, you can do just that, but much faster and easier and more specific. You can deploy a virtual machine to a cloud just like you did to your previous hypervisor. Or you could deploy a single database that just becomes usable to you without having to worry about the operating system in the server below. Or you could deploy a full application that will come with its own database, all kinds of other components, and you never need to worry about anything that's underneath that. So while a cloud can pretty much do anything your previous solution could do, it is more than just a fancy new hypervisor, as it will as it provides with additional levels of abstraction. In the cloud world, we speak of so-called service models. The service model will define if you're just getting a piece of virtual infrastructure or if you're getting a fully serviced application. Now, what's the main advantage of cloud computing? Cloud computing is a force that helps flip this ratio and gives IT departments the ability to spend 80% of their time on core business processes like business application design. It's for this reason the ability to go from 20% of time and money dedicated to core business processes to 80% that the economics of cloud computing is so compelling. Nowhere is the current model's inefficiency more evident than in the opportunity costs that organizations pay to manage their own computing needs. Now, the figure we see here represents the storage decision matrix pattern for applications that are already migrated to AWS or were born or were born in the cloud. In this decision matrix, the storage access protocols, performance requirements, and scalability requirements of the workloads plays a crucial role. An overview of Amazon RDS for our database needs. Now, why do you want a managed relational database service? Because Amazon RDS takes over many of the difficult or tedious management tasks of a relational database. When you buy a server, you get a CPU, memory, storage, and IOPS all bundled together. With Amazon RDS, these are split apart so that you can scale them independently. If you need more CPU, less IOPS, or more storage, you can easily allocate them. Amazon RDS manages backups, software patching, automatic failure detection, and recovery. To deliver a managed service experience, Amazon RDS doesn't provide shell access to DB instances. It also restricts access to certain system procedures and tables that require advanced privileges. You can have automated backups performed when you need them, or manually create your own backup snapshot. You can use these backups to restore a database. The Amazon RDS restore process works reliably and efficiently. You can use the database products you're already familiar with, like MySQL, MariaDB, PostgreSQL, Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server. You can get high availability with a primary instance and a synchronous secondary instance that you can fail over to when problems occur. You can also use MariaDB, Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle, and PostgreSQL read replicas to increase read scaling. Now, so as you can see, there are many good reasons to come to the cloud and a few things to consider carefully. Luckily, the list of common motivations for IT to move to the cloud isn't infinitely long, as the following compilation shows. You might find a few unexpected entries. One all too common motivation is intentionally omitted. FOMO, the fear of missing out. Now, cost. If you want to get something funded in an IT organization that's seen as a cost center, you present a business case. The business case demonstrates a return on the investment through cost reduction. So it's not a big surprise that cost is a common but also somewhat overused driver for all things IT, including the cloud. That's not at all wrong. We all like to save money, but as happens so often, the truth isn't quite as simple. Cloud providers have favorable economies of scale, but nevertheless invest heavily in global network infrastructure, security, data center facilities, and modern technologies such as machine learning. Hence, one should be cautious to expect drastic cost reductions simply by lifting and shifting an existing workload to the cloud. Savings, for example, come from using managed services and the cloud's elastic pay-as-you-grow pricing model that allows suspending compute resources that aren't utilized. However, realizing these savings requires transparency into resource utilization and high levels of deployment automation. Cloud savings have to be earned. The cloud's major savings potential lies in its elastic pricing model. Realizing it requires transparency and automation, though. Organizations look to reduce cost should migrate workloads that have uneven usage profiles and can thus benefit from cloud's elasticity. Another common migration vector is data backup and archiving. On-premises backup and archiving systems tend to consume large amounts of operational costs for very infrequent access. Such data can be stored at lower cost in the commercial cloud. Most providers charge for retrieval of your data, which is a relatively rare event. And you may see a lot more of these advantages with using cloud. And one fast factor that I would like to mention is scalability. Assuring uptime under heavy workload requires scalability. Cloud platforms tout instant availability of compute and storage resources, allowing applications to scale out to remain performant even under increased load. We believe there are significant economic benefits to be gained from moving to cloud computing. These benefits accrue to a business in two distinct ways: directly through reduced costs and indirectly by allowing for increased focus on core business functions. I stress, however, that there are multiple forces at work leading to the growth of cloud computing. The economies are but one of these forces, and as such, I urge organizations considering the cloud to look at broader benefits and impacts beyond pure economics. Thank you so much.